Hey, what's up guys? Kane here with XBLA fans, and I'm going to be doing a Super Mega Baseball video for you guys today. This is something that has been asked for a lot, and I've kind of avoided doing it, but I feel like now it's kind of the right time, because honestly, Super Mega Baseball has an established meta. And what I mean by that is there are teams that are better than other teams. As much as I would like to say that every single team is completely viable for online play, and I still do think that every single team is viable in some senses, as long as you're willing to play into that team's strength and you're willing to, kind of figure out what it is and adapt it to your play style, you can make just about any team work. I want to make one thing clear real quick. This is not a good example of gameplay footage in the sense of I'm playing terrible, but it is a good sense of what I wanted to talk about today. And you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to see a lot of things like error right there that, still got fielded cleanly. I'm playing with a bad fielding team. I'm going to make some really good fielding plays. When it comes down to it, you don't necessarily need high fielding to be able to make these kind of saves. And because of that, because it's so user input focused, and I think that's a good thing, don't get me wrong, I don't think a lot of this stuff I do not think is bad. I just want to make it clear, kind of talk about it a little bit, just so you guys can get an understanding of what I'm talking about here. So obviously there's a couple different teams in Super Mega Baseball. You got the Beewolves, the Grapplers, the Overdogs, the Buzzards, the Crocodons, the Nemesis, Moose, Herbisaurs, Wild Pigs, Freebooters, Sirloins, Moonfish, or Moonstars, Blowfish, I can't even speak, Sawteeth, Wide Loads, Platypi. If you played online, you wouldn't know that. If you played online, you might think it's just the Overdogs, the Wild Pigs, and the Sirloins. I can say without a doubt, those are the three teams I see the absolute most. I just wanted to talk a little bit about why that is. And what you're going to notice really quickly, even just there, that was an incredibly good catch by his pitcher. Those happen. Those happen in baseball. It's not that it's a bad thing. But it does seem like defense is kind of a wasted stat. So if you look at those teams, the Sirloins have a ton of power, a ton of speed, and a ton of starting pitching. That's pretty much what you need to get by in Super Mega Baseball. If you can make your starting pitcher work and you're not someone who wants to sub out every single time they're up to bat, you can definitely make that work well. If you are someone who likes to sub up when your pitchers are up to bat, the Wild Pigs have a better relief staff, and they give up basically a little bit of power for that. But they're still incredibly fast, they've got decent starters, and they're still really good. And then if you really don't care about your pitching as much and you want to go hard on the offense and just want the speed, the Overdogs are really good for that. And when I say that they're not that great at pitching, they're still pretty solid. There's nothing particularly bad about them when it comes down to it. Because at the end of the day, what matters when you pitch is you just need some decent velocity. If you have decent velocity on your pitchers, you can get a bye with just about anything. That's what's really going to separate, especially at this kind of range between Pro and All-Star and Legend. That's really where you're going to see noticeable differences in player skill is, the lower end players cannot keep up with a fastball at all. The higher end players, it's not an issue of keeping up with the pitch, it's whether or not you can hit it cleanly and also whether or not you don't swing at junk. Obviously, I'm swinging at a lot of junk today. I would not say this is my most focused game ever. But here you go. This is another thing with why these teams are so strong. I just power swung with my pitcher for a beast hit. My pitcher's trying to hit a home run, because the way that power swinging works in this game, it's completely based around, the number system, the same way, power pitching is. So there's no real drawbacks to power swinging. If you can power swing consistently above 70, there's basically no reason in the game to ever contact swing. Yes, the contact in the stats is not necessarily the same as contact with respect to the swing, but like what I've noticed, at least for me, and this is a little anecdotal, is playing with high contact teams. More of what happens than not is that I just make a lot of bad contact on balls that I should not be hitting, that I'm swinging at, that I shouldn't have swung at. That, to me, seems to be the biggest issue that I've had when I use a contact team like the Platypi. I just continually have issues with that and just go all over the place. But, again, as far as, like, let's go back to the Overdogs real quick. They were the worst pitchers of that group. They have a starting pitcher with 92 velocity. They have a reliever with 87 velocity. If you get those two pitchers, if you just happen to get lucky there, they're lights out. And I would have put those two with just about anybody in the game. Yeah, that starter only has 4 pitches and doesn't have 5. But online, you don't need 5 pitches. The majority of the time, you can get by with just fastball, slider. Fastball, slider, changeup, fastball, slider, curveball. You're set. You really don't need that much more than that. Yeah, it's nice having a 2-finger. It's nice having, you know, a cut fastball or something like that. But at the end of the day, you can really get by with just the fastball against most players. Obviously, all of this depends on where you locate it. And I think that's what the community is kind of starting to figure out right now, is that power, speed, and velocity are probably the 3 most important aspects right now in Super Mega Baseball. And you can just kind of steal bases at will right now on second base. It doesn't really matter how good your catcher arm is, because if they throw anything other than a fastball, they can't throw you out. It's basically impossible. Unless you just happen to be playing as the wide loads and get a perfect throw that just for whatever reason doesn't do something funky. Every once in a while you'll notice there's a little bit of a glitch. Not really a glitch. More of a bug, but a thing where like you can't pop up and throw the way you think you can. So you'll like have it buffered and all of a sudden it just pockets it again. So like that's something the devs are aware of, and that's something that needs to get fixed, but that's another reason why speed has gotten even more strong. Another reason for speed again is double plays. You're looking at it right here. You're seeing a lot of mistakes that are being made, and he's playing as the Moose right now. Because the Moose are so slow, when I make a mistake, he can't exploit it as well as he could if he was playing as a faster team. That's not to say the Moose is not viable. You know, Moose is pretty strong. It's not a bad team by any means. At the end of the day, most of these teams are pretty solid, but it does feel like a team like, let's say, the Herbisaurs, just for example, has so many points in defense. Those points in defense are not exactly the most useful thing. A lot of times you're going to see errors, and when you see an error, half the time you wouldn't have got the guy out anyway, and you were going to just have to pocket it anyway, or it's going to bounce in such a friendly way. Yeah, I'm like, what am I trying to say? It's going to bounce in such a friendly way that you just kind of get lucky on it. And the thing about speed teams, you saw it right there, is you can exploit people's decision making. You can force them to make decisions, and you can catch them out, and maybe they'll screw up. It's not to say it's perfect. It's not to say this is like the only strategy that works. But in low-scoring games especially, when you can live on that one home run, or you can manufacture runs, you know, by moving people around and causing errors, that's huge. This is a good example of a game where I didn't hit well. I hit horrible. This is a decent at bat, and honestly, I should have swung at that, but I thought I was going to be able to get a walk there for a second. And I just hesitated a little bit too long. But, I mean, that's largely because you see right there, I've been swinging at junk. And for me, at least, when I played with a contact team, that just seems to get worse. Instead of letting me miss a pitch like I did there, I'll suddenly hit that for really, really weak contact. So when it comes down to it, you're going to see a lot of overdogs, a lot of sirloins, and a lot of wild pigs. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Like, there's obviously other teams that are incredibly viable. Nemesis is not bad. Again, I said velocity, and they've got a pretty good reliever, if I recall correctly. You know, wild pigs are solid. Freebooters, I really don't understand why you'd pick them over, say, the grapplers. There's just a few teams that really do kind of shine above the rest. So if you're looking to play online, this is something you just need to be aware of. I think it's actually kind of cool that I got a game here against somebody who wasn't overdogs or wild pigs or sirloins, because honestly, this is the first one I've gotten in a while. So it's just really random that, like, when I decided to do this video, we just kind of lucked into this one a little bit. I was just like, sweet, all right, this is cool. But when it comes down to it, it just really does feel like defense is not that useful of a stat. Contact is not that useful of a stat. You can get by on just starters or just relievers because you can honestly pull your entire starting pitching in the first inning and make it through the game and not struggle unless you just happen to go to extras. Unless your starter gets hit in the head or, you know, just really struggles, you really never have to go to your bullpen because the game doesn't go long enough. So with where it's at, it's in this weird nebulous territory of both starting pitching and relievers are both equally powerful, but like one isn't necessarily better than the other. And that's just kind of weird. But we're just going to look at these teams again. Beewolves, obviously pretty viable. They're just on that outside. I think Grapplers are pretty good. I think they're underrated. Overdogs are probably the most common team right now, outside of maybe the Sirloins. The Buzzards, I don't think I've ever seen. Crocs is rare as heck. Nemesis used to be super popular, but it's kind of waned down. Moose has a very, very kind of staunch following. Like, I feel like if you see a guy who plays Moose, he only plays Moose. Herbisaurs, I just don't think are viable right now. Wild Pigs is my favorite, obviously, so I play them a lot. Freebooter Sirloins, I kind of went into them earlier. Moonstars have good starting pitching, but can't hit. Blowfish are on the edge of being good. Sawteeth, in my opinion, are pretty rough. Wide loads are decent power, but not much else. And Platypi, I just can't get behind no power, all contact. It just didn't work at all for me. Maybe it works for you. So like I said at the end of this, this is just my opinions on this stuff. You guys might, you know, do really well with one of these teams that I don't particularly like, and that's okay. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe. It really helps us out a ton. I'd love to know what your favorite team is and why you think they're good for Pennant Race. Anyways, guys, thank you so much, and later.